All right. Welcome back to the Jax podcast, where we talk about the journey and experiences of those that I've met on my journey. And today we have Keleisha Carter. Keleisha, I'm so excited to talk with you. You've
Girl.
got an amazing energy and you really put yourself out there. So I'm excited to share you with my audience today.
Thanks for having me. Oh my gosh. My eyes are a little like, I'm not emotional, but my eyes are like full. See how fat it gets? Thank you, honey. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, of course. Well, just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Whew. That's always like a frog. I was like, what do I say? But so as my title states, is that I'm a real estate entrepreneur. And the reason why I don't put investor is because I do things outside of just investing. But I focus mainly on like acquiring rental properties, whether it's being short-term rental, transitioning into the midterm rental space, and I also focus on raising private capital. But before all that stuff, before I got into real estate, I'm a Jamaican. I got to the US about 5 to 6 years ago. And just like everyone, I came here just to chase the American dream. Left my corporate job. I have a marketing degree, and I was like, yep, that's it. I need something new. Crazy enough, I came to the States and I was working in the restaurant industry. I did it for about most of the time while I was here. And when I was managing the restaurant, I was just working a lot. It was 8 plus hours. This is like 13 plus hours a day. And I think I was talking to a friend. I don't remember the full story, but I was talking to someone and I was like, I want to find my passion. It's not marketing anymore. I don't know what to do. I think at that point I was very lost. And I started going down, drilling down, okay, what do I like? And at the time I was like, okay, I love watching Food Network. And I also love watching HGTV. So I'm like, I love eating the food. I don't want to cook it. So I was like, let me check out, choose the HGTV side, real estate. Literally, that was how I made it the decision.
Wow.
Like just doing if the pros and cons, that's it. And checked out HGTV, and it's so crazy how I was connected to someone in a group chat, and he was telling me about bigger pockets. He's also Jamaican, and he just mentioned this whole burr method. I was like, a burr method. So he told me about bigger pockets. I went on bigger pockets, and I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's a lot of information on that website. But fast forward going into bigger pockets, that's how I started learning more things about real estate. And then I decided, okay, I'm gonna give it a try. And in working with the restaurant, my partner at the time, we were doing virtual fix and flip in Memphis. We're crazy. We've never been to that market before. Started fix and flipping there. And then after that, we were like, oh snap. Oh snap. And I said, oh snap, because when that first fund hit our account or profit, we were like, oh snap,
Nice.
we want another one. So from there, we just kept going, got into short-term rental. And from short-term rental, here we are today. And that happened the span of what, 2 years? 2020
Wow.
during COVID? Yeah.
That's insane. So can you touch on that a little bit of just like your first thing you get into, you're doing a virtual fix and flip. How does that even work? Like,
Listen, it was scary, but I think, and the funny thing, it was during COVID. It was during COVID, but I think we were at the space where we were like, we don't care. It's time to dive in, because we took an entire year just learning, and then the more we learned, we kept changing markets. Because at first we were targeting like Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, Kansas City, doing a full market research, learn the market, and then we're like, yeah, we don't want to do this again. Then we switched to Memphis, and we got to the point when we were like, no, it's no more switching. We didn't want to learn anything new. We didn't want to read any more books, listen to any more podcasts. It's that feeling where it's time to take action. You get that feeling, and we're like, this is it. We just gotta do it and try and ask questions as we go along. And every time we learn something, we will put it in our notes. So we have like a shared note, and we're
That's
like, okay, Step one, got a contract. This is the next step. Because everything that they say, Jackie, it never goes according when you're in the actual deal, ever.
Uh-huh.
Never. But it was very scary. It was very scary, but it was that feeling of it's time to take action and no more, what do you call it? Analysis paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. So you guys were both virtual, right?
Yes.
So you had to find contractors there and oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
But we found them all on Bigger Pockets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we went on the forums and everything, and then we would ask for real estate agents or contractors. And you had other persons who were asking the same thing previously. So we just reached out to their contact. And I think before we even got our first project, we started building our team.
Hmm.
And then in building our team, we started like talking to persons, getting to know them, building those relationships, asking questions. And there was this one guy, he's also an agent slash investor. And his name kept popping up in terms of working with a lot of out of state investors. So we started building a relationship with him. And any question that we had, we would ask him for clarification and all that stuff. And he started helping us to make offers. So when we got to Memphis, he was there with us for the couple of days that we're there.
Okay, that's awesome. Wow, what an adventure. That's so
Tell me about it.
that's definitely a way to get started.
Yeah.
Okay, so from there, right, where does the capital raising start coming into play?
This is actually where it started coming into play. But the idea it wasn't that much of a thing in my head. Because before it was a fix and flip, these projects should have been a BRRRR. That we bought on the basis that it's gonna be a BRRRR. And for those who don't know, BRRRR is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So we had to use hard money for the projects. And before we got into the hard money, we had the long-term lender they run our credit. They're like, okay, you guys are good. Go ahead with the project. When it's time to refinance, you match the criteria, the qualifications, right? And then we did that when the rehab was almost completed and it's time for us to put a tenant in there, we start the refinance. They run our credit. You guys are on track. Let's get this going. Jackie. A couple of days before, the bank backed out.
Oh.
Yes. The bank backed out and we are already 6 months into the hard money. That's when the loan is due. We were in the middle of another rehab project.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we had to pivot. I mean, we tried, I think we did an extra month and we tried to find another lender. But that was one of the main reasons why capital raise it was the beginning of why we needed to raise capital. The second reason was that right after we sold those properties, thank God that both of them, they worked out. We realized that we were running out of money. It was no more hard money. And even though we've saved money, we're like, we need something where cash is generating. And someone told us about the Smoky Mountains. So we're like, okay. Got into the Smokies, we realized we needed $130,000.
Oh, wow.
Where are we getting that from? Like, we don't have a clue. So the second project that we had, we're like, we're not going to use any hard money at all. So we had cash saved up. So we used that to purchase the property. For the rehab, we used friends and family. And when we use their money, we're like, hey, we are thinking of buying this cabin, but we need help for the down payment. They were like, use that money and roll it into whatever you need for the cabin. So that was the first capital raise.
Nice.
So if they're doing that, we're like, oh, this is a thing. But I think we didn't really take that capital raising part serious at all. But it happened this year because we're in 2023, and it really happened in what's it called? March, April. And that's when we did Keston High Performance Coaching Program. You had to do this activity in terms of what you want for your goals and all that stuff. And I think in that exercise, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to run away from this anymore. That's a whole story of why I was running. But I was like, I'm not going to run from this anymore. I'm going to try it and just put my all in it. And then I did that. And here we are today.
That's amazing. So that was back in April.
This was back in April of this year when I decided to focus on capital raising full time.
That's so crazy and I had talked with you about this the other day, how when I first joined Sub 2, you were the person that stuck out to me the most. Like just putting yourself out there, talking about the things. And because I joined in April. So it makes sense. Like you probably were really ramping up and like just going full force. So that's awesome.
Yeah. No, I had to.
So when you say capital raising, what does that look like on your end on a like day-to-day basis? Because I mean, it's one thing if you're raising money for a specific deal, right? But I've always heard you want to start raising the money before you even have the deal, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what does that look like?
It looks like going to networking events. A lot of it is going to networking events. And when I say networking events, it's not only real estate related events. Like, for example, recently I went to this women's professional network, Tampa Bay Real Estate Women Professionals Network. And a lot of persons in that network, the team, they weren't in real estate at all. So a lot of it is building those connections and putting it out there, letting persons know, hey, this is what I do. I'm in real estate. Not to say I'm raising capital, and I don't use that depending on the audience, but my intention is to build that relationship, because a lot of times those persons have connection with someone else, or they see what I'm doing and they have capital as well, and they don't know what to do with it. So going to networking events is one. If you're not able to go to networking events, also I do Zooms, but I'm very intentional with the different Zooms I'm in. I check a lot of Facebook groups. Again, a lot of these Facebook groups are not real estate related. And the reason being is because if you're looking for capital, anyone with private capital in the real estate groups, everyone in those groups is looking for the same thing. So you have to go outside of those groups, and then you have to lead with value. How can I help this person? Hey, I have a deal and I'm looking to raise money. No. You have to go out there and be like, and that's how you start the conversation. For example, I saw this lady in a Facebook group. It was a woman's Facebook group. And she mentioned that this group has nothing to do with real estate as well. She mentioned that she has funds in her self-directed IRA, but she doesn't in her retirement account. She want to invest. She doesn't know what to do. She's completely new. And I just literally messaged her to say, hey, here's a private money lending guide. If you ever thought about lending in real estate, I share this with my lenders, especially if they're completely new. Also, check out this podcast episode that we did with a private money lender, and they're talking about their experience. And I just said, let me know if I can help in any way or share any tips or whatever it is. And she was like, thank you so much. Now, every time she has a question, she sends me a message on Facebook Messenger.
Nice.
So the day-to-day, and it's not every day you're like sitting in front of the computer looking for groups. Some days you don't know what to do. So you just have to wait for those events. Some days you're just tired of looking in Facebook groups and you have to be like, what else can I do to network? And sometimes that includes me trying to figure out how can I get better? What can I do better for marketing to put my name out there for doing that? Because again, it has a lot to do with your credibility and your online presence. So if I'm not trying to figure out how to network with people, I'm also trying to figure out how can I market myself more.
I love that. And then you talk about how it really is just building that like a genuine relationship, right? Like these are people that you care about, you're talking and getting to know like what their goals are and how to improve their life. Like you said, it's like a value exchange.
Yes.
It's still like that relationship. And I think that's the coolest thing about, recently I've just been hearing a lot about how people are so grateful for the sub two community, and just
Mhm.
that word alone of community, like having those people that you can build something with, that we're all working towards something. I think there's a different level of energy there.
Mhm.
So your relationships with these people, they feel personal, right?
Yes. Yes. And because you're dealing with money, and it's so personal, it's not where everything you can automate. For example, when you're doing direct to seller and everyone's doing mass text blast, mass email blast, when you're raising money and building those relationships, yes, you can do it, but you lose the personal touch to it. And everyone, your persons are going to think, oh, I'm just a number.
Yeah.
So you have to put out that effort in terms of messaging those persons. Hey, how's it going? Sometimes that blue tick, the blue box goes a long way. And the green, they're like, oh, a human is actually talking to me.
Yeah.
They don't just want my money. They care. Like, I've had conversation where I'm trying to raise capital for a particular deal, had that conversation with that lender. It didn't work for them. We're finished with that. They're like, Keleisha, this is not for me. I don't know that person, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then I continue, oh, apart from real estate, how's everything going? I'm in the middle of my day. And I'm raising cap. I'm trying to find funding for a deal, but simply we're already having that conversation. I'm going to message you. How's everything going apart from real estate? That sets you apart from other persons as well.
It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. So do you feel like there are things in your past that you've experienced that you can see how they play into what you're doing today?
Yes.
What, for example?
1,000%. And I'm putting this out there. I'm a big believer in the universe, manifestation, all that stuff. When you become aware of certain things and being intentional, I know you guys would hear that a lot, but here's what I mean. When we raised capital for the first fix and flip with friends and family, we didn't know what we're doing. We just heard about it. We know we needed money. That happened for a reason. So it would help to build credibility for me raising capital now. When we got into the cabin, we had no clue again what we were doing. We did not know that we could use private money in a DSCR loan. All of that we learned on the way. That capital raising was now becoming more and more that aspect of it, because it helped us to figure out how to structure deals. Because we didn't know a lot of things, we got creative. Where we are now, we are able to use what we've learned. So if someone come to us and be like, we want to raise private capital, and they're using a DSCR loan, because of what happened before, I'm able to guide them to be like, okay, if you're going to use private money with DSCR loan, these are the things that you need to do. Here are the questions you need to ask. So I think everything plays out a lot. And I think maybe at that time, it wasn't time for me to focus on capital raising because I was not ready. I needed to go through other things first to be like, this is not for me, because I did direct to agent for 3 months. And I can confidently say, this is not for me, but this is what I've learned. And I've learned to explain creative financing. I've learned to handle the objections. That way I know what questions to ask. And I know how to explain that to someone else who I'm asking to lend money on a creative deal. So I think everything happens for a reason, especially if it's not going according to plan. Just ask yourself, what am I supposed to learn here?
Yeah.
That's a big thing. But everything all aligns.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. So with your focus mainly being on the capital raising side of things, how are you then coming across deals? I'm assuming people are bringing them to you, or what does that look like?
So most of it is people are bringing it to me. I'm still looking for deals as well. So when I set aside time where I can still look for deals, but now persons are bringing deals to me. And then what I do is our team, we will underwrite the deal to see if it makes sense. And then we're always looking for persons who are looking for funding. For example, we would check any different Facebook groups to see who uses the keyword looking for a PML, looking for a gap funding. We search for those persons and we reach out to them, and then we're like, hey, if you need help with this, we can help. And once they fill out the form, it's like now someone will see those comments and then reach out to us and be like, oh, I have a deal too that I'm looking for funding. And what we do is we underwrite the deal ourselves, analyze it, and then if it's a good deal, we'll be like, hey, this is going to be our fee. Or we're open to, we can waive our fee and we gain equity instead. So that's also a way for us to get into deals. So instead of like, we come in by finding the capital for them and they don't pay a fee and they just give us a piece of the deal.
Yeah. That's awesome. So how many deals are you a part of today?
I would say 4 or 5.
Okay.
4 or 5. Yeah. And the reason being is because at some point we're like, we don't want to go in a partnership with every and anyone. Reason one, tax time. I've done my taxes last year with different partnerships, and I was like, this is too much.
Yeah.
This is way too much to get K1s. I'm like, no. And then I'm at a point now where I need capital. I need that capital. So it goes back to, what do you really want? Do you have capital and you're looking to build your portfolio? Or I've said no to getting capital equity in these because I know I needed a capital more than anything else. And the reason being, when you go into you get equity in the deal, you won't see that return right away.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time. So it goes back to, what do you need at the moment? But right now I need the capital. So I mean, to take the finder's fee.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what is it that Keleisha Carter is working towards? What is the end goal for you?
Honestly, the end goal, I would say, I just want to be able to be in a space where I don't have to worry about, one of my main things, I don't want to have to worry about having enough to support my family, enough to support myself. I think a lot of us, once we know that our basic needs are taken care of, it's so much easier for us to function. And I don't want to have to be in a space where my family, because of my background, and they're like, I want this. And I know my mom sacrificed a whole lot. I have to be like, no, you can't. No, I can't do this. And I know she needs it. So I want to be in that space. I actually don't work on having 5-year goals anymore. I think that does something to my brain. I can't explain it, because I'm thinking 5. I've seen where I've had a 10-year goal and it happened in 2 years. So now my goals are in 90 days.
Okay.
So every 90 days, girl, like it's when for some persons 90 days just won't work. You need to see the bigger picture, because it comes down to, a lot of us, the bigger picture, it's always come back to something personal. It has nothing to do with this car, this house, no, nothing. It always comes back to something internal, family, something. So for me, my goal is, okay, it's always in a 90-day increments. This is the goal that I want to achieve in 90 days. After the 90 days, I can assess to see what have I done and what do I need to improve on, and then set another 90-day goal.
Nice.
Yeah. To make it
That's
easier.
awesome.
No.
And do you see yourself staying in Florida, or do you want to go somewhere else?
Oh, I definitely want to go somewhere else. Definitely. Ideally, I would love if I could live in different cities, like 1 year or 2 years, and then move. Because I think starting over, there's something about starting over in a completely new space and building it does something. And I think that's why I'm transitioning into new construction. Because I'm like, I want to be a part of the ground up.
Yeah.
And then finish one project. Okay, on to the next. Which city are we taking over now?
That's awesome.
But
Yeah.
definitely.
I think just going somewhere new too and being able to like you said, it's like you're starting over. You can start however you want. Like this is, nobody really knows you in the area. Yeah. So you're really just, you control it 100%.
Yeah.
What that looks like.
Yeah. And you make your mark. You make your mark within that space and you leave and go somewhere else. But I love Tampa. Like so far, love it. But if I should move, I would go somewhere like in California, or I think I may go to Texas. I like Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Texas is good. Texas is good.
All right. Are there any like resources that you have or like books or podcasts that have really been pivotal for you in your journey?
Oh, I have a ton.
I love that.
Even to this day, I still go back. So I'm gonna start with podcasts. And definitely, especially for someone who's completely new, you don't have much time or watching Zooms, check out Bigger Pockets podcasts for anything real estate related. I love it because you're hearing other investors share their experience, their challenges, and how they're navigating things, which are not going to be in books and it's not going to be on Zoom. So I love that as it relates to real estate, as it relates to mindset. Because a lot of that you will do mindset stuff and you're pumped up and you're ready to go. But what happens when you're not pumped up? Like what keeps you going? At that point in my life, whenever that happens, I don't want to hear anything real estate because I already know those stuff. It's mine. So I would listen to On Purpose with Jay Shetty. That's a good podcast. School of Greatness with Lewis. And which one else was there? I recently started listening to Mel Robbins' podcast too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And hers is good. She's so good. And then as it relates to books, real estate, there's a lot of real estate books, but the standard like Brandon Turner, the rental real estate investing guide. I love the Millionaire Real Estate Investor. I think I have it here too. Yeah. I have all my favorite books that I don't like reading. So all my favorite books, I get the actual copy just to have it. Love You're a Badass by Jen Sincero. I've listened to that multiple times up to this day.
I love that.
10X with Grant Cardone. There's something about that book. I get a message about it every time I listen it. And one of my new favorites now is Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff. It's learning how to pitch any deal. Literally what it says, pitch anything. And again, each time I listen to it, I get a whole different gem from it. I also have a book. I can give you the link. I have a Google Drive with about 100 PDFs.
Oh, we saw that. Ray, when he saw that on Facebook, he's like, man, Keleisha just dropped some fire.
Like I can give you that link so you can share it with too. But
yeah,
all those books, there's a ton of books. Some books you will see repeat there is the same thing with like habits. And I think the more you read those books and realize that everyone's talking about the same thing, one of those books are going to hit you and it's going to be your favorite book where you're going to always go back to and re-listen it. But those are some of my top. Oh, and the what's that called? E-Myth. It's not here. E-Myth Revisit. You know E-Myth?
Yeah.
That's a good book. I just finished relisting it. That's a good book. That's perfect if you want to learn how to work on your business and not work in your business. So E-Myth Revisited is that was freaking amazing.
Nice. That was awesome. Thank you for sharing all that.
Of course.
So where can people find you if they'd like to follow your journey?
Yes. So my full name at Keleisha Carter. It's right there on the screen as well. Everything, any social media platform that I'm on, just search for my name. My website will pop up, my YouTube, my Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm mainly active on Instagram and then Facebook. But anywhere you guys want to find me, it's always my full name all the time. And just Google what they say, just Google me and all the things will pop up.
I love it. All right, Keleisha. Well, thank you so much for sharing today. It was a pleasure talking with you. I know I'll be talking with you soon.
Yes. Thanks for having me, girlfriend.
All right. Bye.